Imagine for a second trying to mail a living organ across the country.
Oh, wow. Okay, starting intense.
Yeah, but think about it. You're packing it in a standard cardboard box using just the regular postal service, and it's like the middle of February.
Right, so it's freezing outside.
Exactly. You have to keep it perfectly insulated, perfectly hydrated, and here's the kicker. You need it to arrive within 3 days or it literally begins to rot.
Which is a terrifying logistical nightmare.
Right. Now imagine doing that 30 times a week while thousands of people watch you on Instagram.
Yeah, that puts it in perspective.
Because that is the actual unvarnished reality of running an online plant store. I mean, you've probably seen the reels, right? Someone misting a gorgeous rare Monstera plant in a sun-drenched room while, indie music plays in the background.
Oh, yeah, the aesthetic is incredibly convincing. And I mean, it's designed to be.
It looks so serene. It looks like the ultimate lifestyle business.
Mm-hmm. But as we're going to explore today, that peaceful greenhouse vibe is essentially a storefront. It's hiding a frantic, high-stakes logistics operation.
Yeah.
You aren't just shipping a ceramic mug or a T-shirt. You're dealing with live, perishable inventory that is, frankly, actively trying to die from the moment you put it in a box.
It really is. And today we are taking a deep dive into a comprehensive 30-minute operational playbook. It's titled Shopify Plant Store, Launch a DTC Plant Brand. And our mission today is to shatter that peaceful illusion, right? We want to look at the actual unit economics. So, okay, let's unpack this. Running a live plant brand is completely dictated by variables that normal e-commerce stores they never even think about.
No, not at all.
Everything is highly fragile, it's incredibly time-sensitive, and heavily regulated.
What's fascinating here is that when you analyze the source material, the brands that actually survive their first 12 months, they aren't the ones founded by people with the greenest thumbs.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Or even the most botanical knowledge. The winners are the operators who have an absolute ironclad grip on their supply chain, their packaging architecture, and the really harsh realities of shipping math.
Wow.
Because if you miscalculate the dimensions of a box or, the duration of a heat pack, all the horticultural passion in the world won't prevent your business from just bleeding out.
So before you can even figure out the logistics of shipping a living organism, you have to figure out exactly what you're selling, right? And the playbook is absolutely brutal on this point.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't hold back.
Like the biggest trap a new founder falls into is launching a generic houseplant store. They want to sell a little bit of everything, some ferns, a few snake plants, maybe a pothos.
Yeah. And entering that generic market as a solo founder is, well, it's basically financial suicide.
Yikes.
I mean, you are stepping into an arena with heavily capitalized giants. You simply cannot compete with the massive centralized fulfillment networks of a company like Bloomscape or, the sheer brand equity and venture capital behind the sill. Right, because they can just absorb the hits.
Exactly. They have a scale that allows them to absorb shipping losses that would instantly bankrupt a solo operator in a backyard greenhouse.
So the survival strategy is to go incredibly small. You pick a micro niche on day one. You own it completely.
Mm-hmm.
The data actually shows that a tightly curated 30 SKU collector store will absolutely crush a sprawling 300 SKU generic catalog. You specialize.
Yes.
Like you could focus entirely on rareroids. These are plants like highly variegated philodendrons that boast an average order value of like $60 to $400.
That is just huge.
Right. Or you go the opposite route. You sell propagation cuttings. The order value is lower, maybe $15 to $80, but a cutting without a massive root system has a near zero risk of dying in transit.
Right. And there are other highly specific niches too, like bonsai, which commands a real premium price point and appeals to a very patient, very affluent demographic.
Oh, for sure.
Or pet-safe plants, right, where your entire value proposition is just peace of mind for cat and dog owners.
That's a huge market.
Yeah. And if you want to bypass the biological risks entirely, the playbook offers a strategic alternative. You start by selling seeds, premium soils, and specialty pots.
Right, dry goods.
Exactly. Dry goods don't wilt in a hot delivery truck. They don't require complex agricultural paperwork. You use them to build your email list and brand authority, and then you introduce live plants later.
Okay, I have to challenge this hyper niche approach, though. Customer acquisition costs across social media are like sky high right now.
They are.
So if I'm starting out, why shouldn't I just cast a wide net to get as many customers as possible? Isn't a bigger catalog better for an online store? doesn't deliberately shrinking your total addressable market just drastically increase how much you have to pay to find that one specific buyer?
It's a totally logical concern, but the algorithm actually rewards the niche in this space.
Really?
Yeah. Sub-niches work so well because they map perfectly to specific, highly engaged social media feeds. The playbook uses Pistol's Nursery as a prime example
Oh,
here.
I've heard of them.
Right. They grew from a single physical greenhouse into a massive national DTC brand, precisely because they maintained a highly disciplined aesthetic and a deeply curated SKU list.
Interesting.
Tight focus actually lowers your customer acquisition cost because the algorithm knows exactly who to show your content to. When a passionate collector wants a specific cultivar with verified genetic provenance, they aren't typing green plant into Google.
Right, they're looking for the exact Latin name.
Exactly. They're looking for a specialist who speaks their exact botanical language.
They want the authority, not the generalist. And picking that sub-niche dictates your entire pricing model, which subsequently dictates your startup capital. Because a major reality check from the source is that you cannot just drive to a big box hardware store, buy a bunch of ferns, mark up the price by 20%, and expect to build a business.
Oh no, you'd be out of business in a month.
Literally. And the playbook provides a very transparent startup budget for a Shopify launch, ranging from $3,600 for a lean minimum viable product to just over $8,600 for a comfortable launch.
And people need to know where that goes.
Right. The lion's share of that budget goes directly into specialized inventory and a 90-day runway for ad spend. And founders must brace themselves because break-even in this industry typically takes 8 to 14 months.
Yeah, and to survive that runway, your gross margins have to be incredibly thick. The source states, non-negotiably, that gross margins must sit above 60%.
60%, that's massive.
You need that massive financial cushion because you are going to absorb paid customer acquisition costs, and more importantly, the dreaded DOA debt on arrival refunds.
Ugh, the worst.
Because no matter how perfectly you pack, a carrier will inevitably lose a box, the plant will freeze, and you have to refund that customer entirely out of your own margin.
Which makes sense, and this is exactly why the wholesale resale model, or domestic dropshipping, is a complete trap for new players.
Oh, 100%.
Like, if you are just buying mature plants from a massive commercial grower and reselling them, your margins are capped at around 22 to 28%.
Which is nothing in this space.
Right. After you pay for the cardboard, a single heat pack, the Shopify transaction fee, and inevitably refund a few dead plants, you are actively losing money on every single order you fulfill.
Exactly.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The sustainable money is found in two very specific, highly technical sourcing methods. The first is tissue culture, import, and grow out.
This part is wild.
It is. You aren't importing plants, you're importing tiny, sterile plantlets suspended in agar gel from laboratories in places like Thailand or Indonesia.
Right, they look like little science experiments.
Yeah, and you buy them for maybe $1 to $5 each. Carefully acclimate them to ambient humidity in your greenhouse for a few months, and then sell the mature plant for $50, $100, maybe even $200.
The return on investment there is just staggering, but it requires significant horticultural skill.
For sure.
Taking a plantlet from a sterile 100% humidity flask and transitioning it to normal household conditions without it melting into mush is a highly specialized process.
And the second viable method is owned propagation. You buy one pristine, highly sought-after mother plant. You literally take cuttings from its nodes, root them in water or sphagnum moss, and sell the newly established plants.
Yes.
It's essentially a biological printing press for inventory. You are literally growing your own money. Your gross margin can easily exceed 65% because your raw material cost after the initial mother plant is virtually zero.
But those methods introduce a massive variable, right? Time. And that highlights why cash flow management is the silent killer of these brands.
Because it takes months to grow them out.
Exactly. You are holding perishable inventory that is aging every single day. If you have 60 SKUs and 5 units of each, you might easily have $7,500 tied up in living things that require specific light spectrums, precise humidity, and daily watering labor.
It's a lot of overhead.
And most founders undercapitalize. They run out of operating cash by month 4, and they blame the algorithm. But the reality is they didn't manage their inventory turns.
Right.
You have to approach this just like a grocery store manager tracking fresh produce. You need to turn over that living inventory 4 to 6 times a year, or it literally outgrows its pot, loses its aesthetic appeal and consumes all your profits in maintenance labor.
Okay, let's follow that life cycle then. You've navigated the niches, you've successfully grown this beautiful, high-margin inventory from a tissue culture.
Mm-hmm.
Now you face the ultimate boss of the DTC plant world, the shipping carrier.
The final boss?
Truly. You have to take this living, breathing biological entity, seal it in the dark inside a cardboard box, and hand it to a truck driver to haul across the country without it freezing solid, baking in the sun, or dying of systemic shock.
Yeah, the physical shipping is the crucible. The playbook notes that fulfillment costs will ruthlessly eat 20 to 50% of an order's value, just to move the box, which means the margin for error is zero.
And that brings us back to the DOA reality. You are required to have a strict, publicly posted policy. The industry standard is a 48-hour live arrival guarantee. If the plant arrives dead, the buyer has exactly 48 hours to send you photographic proof of the entire damaged plant alongside the original packaging.
And you have to enforce that.
Right, because if you don't enforce this rigorously, customers will file chargebacks with their credit card companies for every wilted leaf. And if your dispute rate crosses a fraction of a percent, Shopify payments will permanently ban your merchant account.
To prevent that existential threat, the source outlines 4 specific levers operators pull to survive. First, cap your shipping zone.
Oh.
When you launch, you don't ship nationwide. Maybe you only ship east of the Mississippi, so parcels spend a maximum of 3 days in transit.
Smart.
Second, establish minimum order values. You require a $75 to $100 cart size to unlock free shipping, ensuring you have enough gross margin dollars to absorb that shipping label.
Right, so you're not losing money. Exactly. Third, you mandate insulation and thermal regulation. Adding a $1.20 chemical heat pack to a winter order is the cheapest insurance policy in the world to save a $50 plant.
Absolutely. And the fourth lever is the one that really challenges conventional e-commerce wisdom. You batch your shipping. You only hand boxes to the carrier on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. You deliberately halt all fulfillment on Thursdays and Fridays so that a plant doesn't spend the Saturday and Sunday sitting in an unheated, freezing UPS distribution hub.
Yeah, the weekend pause.
But wait, stopping all shipping on Thursdays, doesn't that make customers furious in the Amazon Prime era of, I want it tomorrow? Like, if I order a product at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday, I expect it on my porch by Thursday afternoon. How do these small brands survive stopping fulfillment for 4 straight days a week without getting completely review bombed by angry customers?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to realize that in the live plant niche, the packaging and the delivery timeline are inherently part of the product feature.
Oh, I see.
This isn't a t-shirt. Bloomscape built an empire, not just by selling plants, but by owning the unboxing experience through proprietary structural packaging.
Right, making it an event.
Yes. And when you set strict boundaries, like only shipping Monday through Wednesday, or implementing a hard cold snap exclusion policy where you completely refuse to ship to any zip code experiencing weather under 30 degrees, you are actually establishing authority.
You're showing you care about the plant.
Precisely. You are signaling to the buyer that you prioritize the biological health of the specimen over processing a quick transaction. An educated collector would much rather wait an extra 4 days to receive a vibrant, healthy plant on a Tuesday than receive a box of dead, frozen mush on a Saturday just to satisfy a tracking number.
That makes total sense. Framing a delay as a premium biological protection service, that is brilliant expectation management.
It really is.
But just when an operator masters the thermal dynamics of a cardboard box, they hit an entirely new wall. The invisible borders. We're talking about the intense legal and regulatory web that governs the movement of agricultural goods.
And it is heavily monitored. Ignorance is definitely not a defense here.
No.
You are dealing with 3 compounding layers of compliance. At the federal level, you navigate USDA APISAS permits, which are required for moving certain agricultural materials across state lines to prevent the spread of invasive pests.
Which is super important.
Yeah. Then at the state level, almost every Department of Agriculture requires you to hold an active nursery license to operate commercially. And then you have specific states, most notably California and Hawaii, that enforce incredibly strict bans on what soil mediums can even cross their borders.
Right.
They are protecting multi-billion-dollar local agriculture industries from microscopic nematodes and pathogens.
It's less like traditional e-commerce and more like bringing liquids through a TSA airport security checkpoint. Every single speck of dirt in that box is scrutinized and highly regulated.
Mm-hmm.
And if you attempt to ship internationally, it triggers a whole new level of bureaucracy with phytosanitary passports and CITES restrictions.
Okay.
CITES is an international agreement that specifically tracks and restricts the trade of endangered plant genetics. You need a mountain of permits just to mail a rare cutting to Canada.
Exactly. And the corporate structure of your business carries equal weight. The playbook stresses that forming an LLC is not optional. It is mandatory for liability shielding.
Wait, really? Liability for a plant?
Think about it. What happens if you sell a toxic euphorbia plant, a customer's cat ingests it, and the owner decides to sue for veterinary damages?
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, you must decouple your personal assets from your botanical inventory. Furthermore, you have to utilize tools like Shopify tax to track your economic nexus thresholds.
Right, and for those unfamiliar, an economic nexus is basically a legal tripwire. It's the exact dollar amount of sales you have to hit in a specific state. Say, selling $100,000 worth of plants to buyers in New York. Before that state's government legally demands you start collecting and remitting sales tax for them.
Precisely. And mistakes in this regulatory layer aren't just minor administrative fines. If you violate agricultural borders, it means the Department of Agriculture intercepts your package, confiscates and incinerates your inventory, and you still have to issue a full refund to the customer.
Ouch. And if the state regulators don't destroy your margins, the seasonal weather patterns will.
Oh, for sure.
We touched on heat packs, but the macroeconomic seasonality of the plant business is extreme. Consumer demand peaks violently from March to June during the spring repotting season, with a brief, intense spike in November and December for holiday gifting. But January and August, those are dead zones, sales crater. In fact, many brands located in northern states literally pause live shipping entirely in the dead of winter because the thermal risk of DOA is just statistically too high to justify the postage.
Which demands ruthless operational discipline from the founder. The playbook outlines a strict rule. You must bank a minimum of 60 days of operational cash reserves by October.
60 days.
Yeah. If you fail to stockpile your spring and holiday profits, you will not have the liquidity to pay your software subscriptions, your greenhouse lease, and your insurance premiums during that deep January revenue crater. You have to ride the seasonal wave. You simply cannot fight it with Facebook ads.
So, assuming a founder has navigated the LLC setup, survived the January freeze, secured the nursery permits, and has a greenhouse full of perfectly propagated high-margin aeroids, how do they actually acquire customers when their paid advertising budget is basically zero?
Right.
The answer is turning your daily mandatory greenhouse chores into a relentless content marketing engine.
The conversion journey really starts with the digital storefront itself. The playbook strongly recommends utilizing visual-first Shopify themes, specifically mentioning architectures like Horizon or Symmetry. But the product detail pages, or PDPs, are where you actually win or lose the sale. You cannot use generic, beautifully staged stock photos of a mature plant, because collectors are buying specific leaf variegation patterns. You must feature high-resolution photos of the exact physical plant the customer is adding to their cart.
You need a clear size reference too, right? Like a hand or standard ruler in the frame so they know exactly how large the root system is.
Exactly.
Plus a 15-second autoplay video demonstrating the foliage from every angle. Because they can't pick the pot up and inspect the soil like they would at a local physical nursery, the digital merchandising has to completely replace that tactile experience.
And to drive high-intent traffic to those meticulously crafted product pages, your marketing mix relies heavily on organic short-form video.
Makes sense.
The playbook suggests dedicating 40% of your marketing effort to Instagram Reels and 25% to TikTok. You document everything. Packing a highly insulated box, time lapses of new roots growing in moss, behind-the-scenes greenhouse tours showing your humidity controls. This organic, process-driven content carries a near-zero customer acquisition cost.
But the strategy doesn't stop when the credit card is charged. The playbook details a highly automated, 5-touch post-purchase communication sequence, usually powered by an email marketing platform like Klaviyo. It fires off an immediate order confirmation that proactively sets expectations about shipping delays due to weather. Then, a ship day email containing a specialized unboxing guide, a day 3 check-in email, a day 14 watering reminder, and finally, a day 45 automated upsell for specialized fertilizer or a ceramic pot.
It's very thorough.
So what does this all mean? From a consumer standpoint, I just bought a fern, The transaction is complete, flooding my inbox with 5 automated emails over 6 weeks. Doesn't that just drive massive unsubscribe rates and annoy the buyer?
This raises an important question about the true nature of your product. You aren't just selling a biological specimen. You are selling the success of keeping that specimen alive in an unnatural indoor environment.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Post-purchase care content is actually a defensive customer acquisition strategy. If you look at a brand like The Sill, they scaled their entire empire on botanical education before they ever heavily leveraged paid media. Why a day 14 watering reminder? Because day 14 is the exact biological window where a newly shipped, highly stressed plant will start exhibiting the physical symptoms of root rot from a panicked owner overwatering it.
Ah, so you hit their inbox with a diagnostic guide right before they inevitably drown the plant and demand a refund.
Exactly. By treating post-purchase education as a core product feature, you preemptively solve the customer's anxiety. You drastically reduce chargeback disputes. You push your 90-day repeat purchase rate above 25%. And most critically, you turn an anxious buyer into a confident brand evangelist. They take a proud picture of their thriving new leaf, tag your brand on Instagram, and generate user-generated content that fuels your top-of-funnel marketing for the next sales cycle without you spending a single dollar on ads.
It's a brilliant, self-sustaining flywheel. But maintaining that flywheel, the propagating, the packing, the video editing, the email sequencing exacts a heavy toll.
It really does.
The data shows that a solo operator easily logs 33 to 51 hours a week just packing boxes and managing the greenhouse climate before they even look at their marketing. It is a severe physical grind. But if an operator can hit the target KPIs, if their automated Klaviyo email and SMS flows are driving 25 to 35% of their total monthly revenue, and they successfully maintain a DOA rate below 8%, they have built a highly resilient, highly profitable business.
It is exhausting, but it is deeply systematic. Success here isn't about luck. It's about adhering to the physics and mathematics of the industry.
Which brings us to the core takeaways. To wrap up this deep dive, the playbook leaves us with 3 unshakable golden rules for DTC plant brands. First, niche beats selection.
Always.
Do not try to be the Amazon of houseplants. Be the undisputed authority on one specific genetic lineage for one specific type of collector. Second, packaging beats price. A perfectly engineered, thermally insulated box that guarantees a living arrival is always worth charging a premium for. And third, organic content beats paid ads. Monetize your daily greenhouse chores on Reels and TikTok before you ever hand Mark Zuckerberg a portion of your margin. If an operator can master those 3 principles, the business generates its own momentum. If they ignore them, there isn't a Shopify app or optimization tool in the world that can prevent their inventory from dying in a warehouse.
It's a phenomenal synthesis of a brutal operational reality. And looking at all these tightly controlled variables leaves me pondering a massive, unavoidable external threat. We've talked extensively today about the absolute necessity of heat packs, thermal insulation, and strict geographic zone caps required to transport these living specimens safely.
Yeah.
But as global climate patterns become increasingly erratic and extreme, highly unpredictable weather events become the baseline rather than the anomaly, how will this entire perishable freight industry have to adapt?
That's a huge point.
And an operator can no longer reliably predict the temperature inside a delivery truck moving from Ohio to New York in the middle of April. Well, localized regional greenhouse hubs completely replace the cross-country centralized DTC model we just mapped out. It's a looming existential variable for anyone building a supply chain in this space.
That is a fascinating systemic question, because if the climate unpredictability breaks the baseline shipping math, the entire DTC formula collapses.
Exactly.
It brings us right back to the central illusion. What looks like a perfectly curated, serene aesthetic on your social media feed is actually a high-stakes, hypervigilant logistics operation battling the physical elements, biological clocks, and strict state borders every single day. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we hope you keep learning.